All right, fifth graders, today we're going to dissect the owl pellet. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know some of you are like going, oh no! But once you get started, you are going to love it. So I would like to make sure that you get this packet. There's a little, it's like a skeleton, a rodent skeleton, and you see it has some different bones on it. And then on the back, there's a bone sorting chart. And this one includes rodents, shrews, moles, and birds. Very few of you, if any, will have a bird. Most owls do not eat birds. They eat voles and rodents and things like that. And then you can actually create your own little skeleton of a rodent if you find the right pieces. And on the very back, it talks about jaw shapes and things like that. And this is how you might be able to put together the skeleton. All right, let's get started. Before we actually start dissecting the owl pellet, please get out your science notebook and turn to the table of contents, number 12, owl pellet dissection, page 20. Then turn to page 20. Mine, I put owl pellet at the top and the date, and then skip a line, and number 1, I want you to list the number of pellets that are going to be dissected in your class. So however many people there are in your classroom, that's how many pellets. So please put that down. It's probably about 30. Then number 2, number of pellets in 5th grade. So there are probably about 30 students per class, and there are 5 classes. So that would make 150 pellets. Now, I'm not doing an exact measurement, right? I'm kind of estimating that it's about 150 pellets. Number 3, the size of your pellet. So I know if you have a measuring tape or a ruler, you can measure it, but you don't have to be precise. Is it 10 feet or is it 1 to 2 inches? That's kind of what I'm looking at. So mine, I'd say, is 1.5 inches. Now, number 4 is a prediction. What do you think you're going to find in your owl pellet? Do you think that you're going to find rats, like skeletons of rats, mice, voles, moles, shrews, birds, rabbits? So tell me what you predict that you think that what do you think you're going to find, and how many? Do you think you're going to find 2 rats or 1 rat? Just make a prediction. Now, make sure you write that prediction down, because after we actually dissect your pellet, we're going to take a look and see how close you were to the actual number. Number 5, I want you to predict the number of skulls you think that might be in here. So the skull is just the head of the mouse or the rat that you're going to find inside. How many skulls do you think you're going to find? Write it down. And then we're going to write down how many you actually find when we open up the pellet. So now we're going to open up the aluminum foil packet, and we're going to see the pellet that's inside. Okay, so this is what my pellet looks like before I've done anything to it. So I can start seeing already, some fur, and I see some little bones sticking out. I got some blue construction paper to put my pellet on. That way it the bones and everything stick out so I can see them. Not on a black paper, it's not going to show up so well. If you have some blue or green or yellow construction paper, then the bones will show up very good. It'll have a lot of contrast. Now I'm going to open up my pellet, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hands, and I'm going to kind of twist it crack it. See if I can open it up a little bit. I don't want to break anything inside, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to break something in order to get to the center. Okay. So now, look, I have a little bone right there. Do you see it? And I'm going to now very carefully take all the little pieces of the bone out of this pellet. It's going to take me a little while. You're going to have to be very careful. You're going to have to take your time. Slowly, slowly take the bones out, pick the fur off, and then compare them to the bones on the chart. I have been working for about 15 minutes, so I've got all of this fur that I've taken apart, and these are the bones that I have set aside. So I haven't organized them yet. I'm just kind of setting all of my bones to one section of my paper, and I still have these two pieces to go. I have not found a skull yet, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to find one shortly. If you find something like this, you see those little yellow pieces sticking out like that? Those are the front teeth of a rodent, a rat or a mouse. So I know that this is attached to the skull. So I'm going to carefully extract it from the fur. So there's my little skull. You can see, like, this is where the eyes would be. This is the top, and you can see, let me see if you can, it's hard to get my camera to focus. But there, oh, there they are. See the little teeth? Those are the teeth at the top, in the top jaw. All right, so, and over here, I have the lower jaws of a skull. So I've got the top of the skull and the bottom of the skull. So I have finished dissecting my pellet. This is all of the fur that I have left over, and I could probably sort through that again because, like, I see a few little bones still in there. But the whole point of this is to really get an idea of what does the owl eat. So I organized the bones a little bit. So that's one of the skulls, and I see the lower jaws. I see two more little lower jaws and two more here. So I have one complete skull, but I have parts of two more skulls. Then I have two really small things. I think that these are shrews, and because the shape of the head is much different. This one is very curved, and this one is long. So I think it's a shrew, and it has the skull and the lower jaw. The skull and the lower jaw. So that, to me, that means I've got 5 rodents that were in this one owl pellet. These bones right here are like the hip bones, and these are leg bones. This bone is part of the backbone. You can see this little discs. That's like the shoulder collar. All of these are ribs. More leg bones. These are the shoulder blades of the little mice. So based on this, I can now make a prediction about what this owl ate in one day. Owls usually regurgitate 1 to 2 pellets every single day. Okay, let's go back to our science notebook and go back to our prediction and actual numbers. So prediction of number of rats or mice that you're going to find. You made a prediction. Now, how many did you actually find? In my pellet, I found 5. I think 1 rat and a couple of shrews. And then the number of skulls, I actually had 5 skulls. I didn't find 5 complete skulls, but if I found the lower jaws, then I know that there's an upper jaw as well. Now, from the information that you learned from dissecting your owl pellet and from talking to people in the class, what do you think is the diet of a barn owl. So I would say that the barn owl's diet is a mix of mice, rats, voles, shrews, and maybe any other things that you guys found in your owl pellet. Now, if your single owl pellet represents your owl's diet for one day, what is your estimate for the number of the same animals that that owl will eat in 1 year? So for me, 5 rodents a day times 365 days equals 1,825 rodents in a year. That's a lot of rodents. So 5th graders, next week we're going to get into the details about the owl's food web. Before we talked about the food chain, but it's really not a food chain. There's lots of competing interests. So we're going to start talking about the food web next time. See you then, Cougars.